So tonight we're going to be in lesson number 7, sponsor. Sponsor is sometimes a challenging lesson because we're digging into principle 4, which sometimes is a little bit scary. I want to tell you, you don't need to be scared of principle 4. Principle 4 is an amazing space where we really start to engage with our recovery, where we really start to engage with other people. And we're going to talk about some of the important relationships that we need to have tonight. And we're going to talk about what it looks like moving forward. So you guys have already been doing some hard work. We're going to keep that up now. So principle 4 says, openly examine and confess my hurts, hangups, and habits to myself, to God, and to someone I trust. And the biblical comparison for that is, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Matthew 5:8. Then step 4 says, we made a searching and fearless, honest inventory of ourselves. And the biblical comparison for that is in Lamentations 3:40, which says, let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord. So in the last couple times we've been together and we've done a lesson, we really focused on principle 3, where we talked about the importance of having a personal relationship with Jesus, right? And that to be able to engage in a really deep personal relationship with him. In principle 3, we learned that we turn our lives over to him, and then each day we practice turning our wills over to him. You guys have done a great job on principle 3. So now we're going to start talking about how do we bring other people into this journey with us. And you're going to find at this point in recovery that there's 3 key relationships that you need to have. And the first and most important relationship, the only thing that makes any of this possible, is a relationship with Jesus Christ. I mean, if you're ever wondering what to do, turn back to Jesus. If you're ever feeling like you need someone to talk to Jesus, right? If you ever aren't sure what to think, get in God's word and read about Jesus, right? Jesus is at the core of everything that we do because he's the one who has all the love, has all the grace, and has all the power. In addition to our relationship with Jesus, we want to have a relationship with our recovery group, right? Whether that's this one or other ones or all of them, it's important that we not try to do recovery alone. Most of us, when we got here, we were living in isolation. We tended to withdraw from people and from relationships. And so now we really want to be intentional about engaging in healthy relationships and healthy spaces. And then thirdly, we want to have a sponsor that we could also call a spiritual mentor, and we want to have accountability partners. All of those things are important. So tonight we're going to kind of unpack what's a sponsor, what's an accountability partner, and what are some of the ways those are helpful to us in our recovery. So these relationships are important now because most of us, when we get into recovery, we're super good at lying to ourselves. Anybody besides me? Pretty good at, man, when I got here, I had been lying for so long, I wasn't even sure what the truth looked like anymore. And I needed other people around me to say, yeah, that sounds a little off, Jonathan. You really sure about what you're saying there? So in principle 4 and principle 5 and principle 6, the key thing that we're going to do is we're going to learn how to be honest about everything all the time. Our ability to be honest is the thing that determines the amount of growth that we have, the amount of success and recovery that we have. It is where we learn to be honest. So accountability partners and sponsors are necessary to help keep us honest as we're growing in our relationship with Jesus. So principles 4 through 6 are where we work on getting right with God, right with ourselves, and right with others. That sounds pretty good, right? Sounds pretty good. Okay, principle 4 is all about being honest and truthful about the past, right? It's where we take a look at everything in our past so we can put those things aside and move forward into the new life that Jesus has planned for us. It's also the foundational base for honesty that we're going to use to move forward in our lives. In Proverbs 15:14, it tells us, the discerning heart seeks knowledge, but the mouth of a fool feeds on folly. So if we really want to be discerning about what God wants, we want to seek God. And if we really want to grow in our recovery, we want to seek people who have been in recovery longer than us so they can give us some pointers, right? They can help us avoid some pitfalls, and they can help us have some successes. Sometimes when we get to principle 4, we get a little bit afraid, right? Our past can be pretty heavy. Who's got a heavy past? I should put up 2 hands, right? I mean, looking at our past can be hard, and we don't want you to try to do that alone. That just wouldn't be safe for you. It wouldn't be healthy for you. Oftentimes what happens is when people try to do principle 4 alone, they wind up spiraling into relapse, spiraling into isolation. They wind up going backward instead of forward. So we don't want you to have that happen. We want you to have forward moving success. And we want you to have that by having a spiritual mentor, a coach, a sponsor, accountability partners, a whole team of people who can walk alongside you in your journey. Now, I know some of you, right, because I've talked to you. I know some of you are like, yeah, I don't need that, Jonathan. I don't need this whole sponsor business. That might be important for other people, but I don't need that. I got this. Yeah, not so much.
What's folly? Is it like gossip?
No, folly is like something that's false. It's like something that's a joke or a false. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Was that from that verse? Yeah, it's from the verse.
Feeds on folly. I thought gossip.
That could be a component of it, but it really is talking more about feeding on denial or lies. Yeah. Yeah. Good question. Thank you. Yeah. Some of you are still unconvinced. Even now, after those couple things I just said to you, you're like, yeah, he means well, but he's just wrong. I just want to encourage you. Sponsors are highly important, super important. So tonight we're gonna spend some time. We're gonna answer 5 questions. I'm gonna blow through them really fast, and then we're gonna unpack them one at a time. So one is we're gonna take a look at why do I need a sponsor and or an accountability partner. 2, what are the qualities of someone that I might consider having be my sponsor? 3, what does a sponsor do? So just real quick, a sponsor is not your boss. They're not your boss. They don't tell you what to do. They don't work your recovery for you. They're your coach. They're going to share their experience, strength, and hope. They're going to speak into those things that you ask them to speak into. They're going to help you see if you're moving too quickly or if you're procrastinating. But they're not going to do the work for you, and they're not going to make all your decisions for you. They're going to be a coach or a guide as you work your way through the steps and principles. How do I find a sponsor or an accountability partner? I was just talking to somebody about that before. We'll get to that. And then what's the difference between a sponsor or accountability partner? If you're used to other recovery meetings, they don't use that accountability partner language very much. So we'll talk about that just a little bit. So first, why do I need a sponsor and or an accountability partner? And I don't really like that it says and or, so I just made it and. Right? That's just me. I need both. And especially on the accountability partners, I need multiple ones. So here are 3 basic reasons why you need a sponsor or accountability partner. 1, having a sponsor or accountability partner is biblical. It's biblical. So, well, where I know some of you are saying, well, where's that in the Bible, Jonathan? Well, let me share, right? It is, the first place is in Ecclesiastes 4:9-12, which tells us 2 people are better off than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, is in jeopardy of relapse, is struggling, right? 1 can help the other up. How many of you have ever been in a situation where you've reached out to someone else in recovery and they've helped you up? Right? It actually works. And it actually works because God designed it that way. Isn't that amazing? But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Anybody put themselves in a situation like that? Man, every time I had no one to help me up, it was because I had pushed everyone away. Not because no one wanted to be there, but because I pushed them all away. Though 1 may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. And a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. And the reference here is that you, another person, and Jesus cannot be broken easily by any temptation that might come. The 3 of you together could withstand anything that the enemy might want to throw at you. And I can just tell you, I'm in a season right now where I'm preaching to myself, right? I'm reminding myself that with a sponsor and Jesus, I can stand through anything the enemy might throw at me. Proverbs 27:17 also tells us, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. This, you could say, as a sponsor, right, sharpens a newcomer, so one person sharpens another. It's a biblical process. Having a sponsor or accountability partner is a key part of your recovery program. It's a key part. It's a crucial part. It's a necessary part. Some of you that have been around a while have heard me talk about how I had 10 years in recovery, 10 years. And then I relapsed. And the key reason that I relapsed was I didn't have a sponsor. I didn't have an accountability partner who could hold me accountable to having a relationship with Jesus. The 3 main parts to have successful recovery I didn't have. And after 10 years of complete abstinence, I relapsed. And when I relapsed for the next 18 years. Right? It wasn't good. And right now I'm in my 10th year again. I'm coming up on 11, and I can tell you thank you for that. It's one day at a time. The enemy does not want me to make it to 11. I can tell you that. Okay. So did you know that your recovery program has 4 key elements to success in addition to the things we already talked about? So we're going to go through these real briefly. The first one is, the first key is to maintain an honest view of reality as you work each step. Because as soon as you start lying to yourself, you're not going to move forward in your recovery. You're going to go backwards, right? We never just stay still. We're always moving towards God or away from God. And honesty is required to move towards God. It's required. Okay? Having someone nearby who loves you enough to help you stay honest is a plus in successfully working the steps. I can tell you from personal experience, my sponsor has no fear in reminding me when I'm slipping back into denial, or when I have some distorted thinking about something, or when I'm just completely wrong. And he doesn't do it in a judgmental way. He does it in a loving way so I can continue to have success. And that's what you'll find in a relationship with a sponsor that you get at Celebrate Recovery. The second key element is to make recovery meetings a priority in your schedule. Now, I'm not making a push for Monday nights here, exactly, but kind of. I just want you to make recovery meetings a priority, right? If you can't come here, it's fine, we'll miss you, but I just want you to make recovery meetings a priority. I had somebody tell me when I first got here that they said, well, I was like, well, how many recovery meetings a week do you think I should go to? And they were like, how much time did you spend getting high? I spent every waking moment feeding my addiction. The only time I wasn't feeding my addiction is when I was passed out or blacked out, right? Otherwise, every waking moment, I was feeding my addiction. So while I'm not in a meeting every waking moment, I am trying to be intentional about working my recovery. And my recovery group meetings are a priority. Like you can count that I won't miss more than 2 Mondays a year for the last 10 years, right? They are a priority. I encourage you to have a home group that you make a priority no matter what else. And even if you take a vacation, right? If you travel somewhere or whatever, find a CR. It's pretty fun to visit Celebrate Recoveries in other states. It's fun. It's exciting. All right. The third element is maintaining your spiritual program with Jesus through prayer, meditation, and daily study of his word. right? Just like how often was I calling my connection, right? To get the fleshly things. Well, Jesus is my new connection. How often am I going to call him? Right? And I would encourage you that we need to be in connection with Jesus, in his word and in prayer and in meditating about those things every day. It needs to be a priority. We'll focus more on that when we get to Principle 7, but you don't have to wait till Principle 7 to start doing it now. And the thing about a sponsor is a sponsor is going to help you make that a priority and make it a daily part of your life. And then the last key element to a successful recovery program is get involved in service. Now, I know some of y'all, right, on Mondays, you worked a long day. Some of y'all worked 10 hours before you even got here. And you're like, Jonathan, I don't have the energy. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But what about at your church on the weekend? Or what about at a different CR where you don't have to work 10 hours? Your service doesn't have to happen here. Maybe your service even happens at home. I'm not telling you where you need to do your service. I'm simply saying that you need to be involved in service somewhere so that your life is outwardly focused, not inwardly focused. Because we've spent enough of our life being inwardly focused. If you do want to get involved here, you can certainly talk to me. You could talk to your Open Share group leader. And once you get a sponsor, if you don't have one, your sponsor is going to have good ideas. I can guarantee that about where you can be of service. Okay, having a sponsor or an accountability partner is the best guard against relapse. The best guard against relapse. I've had people call me after the relapse, and I was like, well, you know, I could have maybe helped before, right? If you had called me before. It is the best guard against relapse. More people that I've talked to that have relapsed have not had a sponsor than the other, right? It's a common thing that happens is that when we don't have sponsors and accountability partners to keep us on track, we wind up in our old dysfunctional, self-defeating patterns. We get into denial and we start making unhealthy choices. And then we feel guilt and shame about those choices. And then we make more bad choices and we're back in that cycle, right, that we were in before. In Ecclesiastes 7:5, it tells us, it is better to heed the rebuke, ouch, of a wise person than to listen to the song of fools. You should probably write that down and read that one later. Hurts a little bit, right? Here's the thing. The trouble with most of us is that we would rather be ruined by praise than saved by criticism. We would rather be ruined by praise than be saved by criticism. The beautiful thing about sponsors is they're not going to criticize you. They're not going to judge you. They're going to encourage you and support you, help you to have success. Hopefully what a sponsor is going to do is what we find in Proverbs 20 and verse 5, which says, the purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. You ever been sitting around feeling like you got a whole bunch of feels going on and you don't know how to parse through them? You don't know how to name them. You don't know really how to move past them, but you know you need to do something. Well, someone who is further along in their recovery than you are, someone who has some experience being a sponsor, they're going to help you wade through the deep waters of your heart. They're going to be able to help you find insight where oftentimes looking on your own, we just see darkness. Okay, so what are some of the qualities of a sponsor? So this is not an exhaustive list, right? There could be more things than this, but I'm just going to highlight a few things. So one of the first and most important is, does their walk match their talk? Are they living the 8 principles of recovery, the 12 steps of recovery? Do you see that they have a growing relationship with Jesus? right? Because if I pick a sponsor who's not in the Word every day and praying every day and going to church regularly and involved in service, if I don't have a sponsor who has a relationship with Jesus himself, how's he going to be able to help me? How's he going to be able to disciple me into how I can do that with Jesus? We want to pick someone who is living a life that we desire to have. Do you see the character of Christ in them? Now, that doesn't mean they're perfect, because none of us are, but you could definitely see patterns in people's lives as you do life with them. Do they express the desire to help others out of hope, but not out of pity? Right? Do they want to help people out of hope and not out of pity? Because what you don't want is you don't want somebody with a hero complex. You don't want someone with serious control issues. Now, all of us have some amount of control issues, right? I'm Jonathan, I struggle with control, right? But you don't want someone who's going to try to control your life. You want someone who's going to share with you the hope that they've found in Jesus, right? That encourages you from their own experience and strength. Do they show compassion, care? You don't want someone to feel sorry for you. There's a difference between someone feeling compassionate for you than feeling sorry for you. You understand that, right? You guys get that? So you don't want someone who feels sorry for you. That's not what you want. But you do want someone that you know that they care about you, right? People don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah. Okay, are they a good listener? We're all pretty good at talking, right? But I'll pay her afterwards. So. I mean, you guys are a tough crowd tonight. It's going to be okay. For you folks online, you can laugh. It'll be good. Yes. If you're looking for the handout for tonight's lesson, celebraterecovery.com. Yeah, lesson 7. Okay. Do you sense that they honestly care about what you have to say, right? So they're not just listening and they're tuned out, thinking about what they're going to have for breakfast tomorrow. They're listening to you because they honestly care about what you have to say. They're listening to understand, not to respond. There's a significant difference. Are they strong enough to confront you in love about your denial or your procrastination? Sometimes that's a hard one. Sometimes, especially when, like, here's the thing I'm super good at. I'm super good at being really, really busy so I can procrastinate working on my recovery. Now, I'm not trying to put that mantle on anyone else, but that is a thing for me. But my sponsor is good at calling me out on that. Do they care enough about you and about your recovery to challenge the things that you're saying in a loving way? Do they offer suggestions? Do they offer suggestions? If I'm stuck being the only person coming up with ideas, that's not going to be good, right? Mac Owen says, if I'm alone in my head, I'm in a dangerous neighborhood, right? Are they willing to offer you suggestions, options, alternatives that you otherwise would not be able to find on your own? A good sponsor can take an objective view and offer suggestions, but they do not give orders. And then, do they share their own current struggles with you? If you have a sponsor that has it all figured out, you probably need a new sponsor. Right? Are they willing to share their own struggles? Are they willing to open up and be vulnerable and transparent? Because if they can't be vulnerable and transparent with you, it's going to be hard for you to be that way with them. So I know that with my sponsor, he is someone that I'm grateful to know. And when I observe his life, I'm like, yeah, that's something that I want, right? That's something that I would like to model after. And then, what is the role of a sponsor? And I said this earlier, and I'll say it now, and I'll probably say it one more time before we're done. The most important role of a sponsor is to continually point you to Jesus, right? That's the key thing of a good sponsor. They're going to help you create a dependence on God, not on them. Did you catch that? A good sponsor will help you create a dependence on God, not on them. God is where recovery and healing is found. They could be there to discuss issues in detail that are too personal or would take more than the 3 to 5 minutes that you get in a small group. Although we could cover a lot in 3 to 5 minutes, but some of those deeper issues are going to take more time, and it's important to have a sponsor to do that with, especially when you get into Principle 4. You're not going to share your whole inventory in small group. Even in a large group, right? You're not gonna do that. Even in a step study, you're not gonna do that. But your sponsor is gonna be the person, right? Sometimes we might deny things, we might rationalize things, we might blame ourselves, blame other people. But with a sponsor, we can be balanced in how we look at things, balanced in the positives, balanced in the negatives. They can share their own experiences, and they can help us walk the path of recovery. One of the most important things a sponsor can do, and my sponsor did this for me, is they can help us believe that the grace of Jesus is for us, that the forgiveness of Jesus is for us. Sometimes that's the hardest part. It's easy for me to stand up here and look out there and be like, no wonder Jesus loves you. No wonder Jesus wants to give you grace. No wonder Jesus wants to forgive you, but you don't know me. You don't know the mistakes I've made. You don't know what's in my heart. It's important that we have someone who can remind us about how big Jesus' loving grace is compared to our mistakes. Sponsors can be available in times of crisis or potential relapse. Now, with most of my sponsees, I don't have any newcomers right now. I have more seasoned people, and we have kind of some hours that are known as the acceptable hours, right, in general. But they also know if they got into a crisis or if they were going to potentially relapse, that they could call me at any time. I mean, my thing that I tell my sponsees and that my sponsor tells me is, you can do whatever you want, but you could wait till you call me first. You can do whatever you want, but you can wait until you call me first. Remember what we talked about in Ecclesiastes 4:12. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. And then the context of that verse, at that time in history, what they were referring to is if 2 men stood back to back, they could fight in all directions. They could fight in all directions. Okay, a sponsor will serve as a sounding board by providing an objective point of view. That could be painful sometimes. It's not judgmental, but it could be painful. I remember, you guys have heard me tell this story before. I remember one time I was mad at my sponsor. I didn't talk to him for 4 months. I was mad. And finally he was like, bro, what's going on? I haven't heard from you. And I was like, okay, I'm coming over tonight. We're going to talk. And I got there and I laid it out for him why I was mad and why I hadn't called him. And he very gently looked at me and he was like, and how has that worked for you? Well, it hasn't worked good. I've been mad. And he was like, and I haven't been bothered at all. Because he didn't know, right? He was just so gentle about it. And I remember feeling like, oh, wow, I'm an idiot. What am I even, right? What's that?
Didn't it make you mad?
No, it didn't. It actually helped me. I realized I'm wasting my time being mad at him. He loves me, right? And especially when you're dealing with the sensitive area of making amends and offering forgiveness, you need a really good sounding board. Because sometimes we want to make amends for the wrong reason. And we might hurt somebody, right? There's a reason why that principle says, except when to do so would harm them or others. A sponsor can help us understand if we're going to be harming someone else rather than helping the process. They're there to help us work the principles at our own speed. They attempt to model the lifestyle that results from working the 8 principles. It's difficult to inspire other people to do things that we're not willing to do ourselves. Sometimes we say, do as I say, not as I do. I don't know about you guys, but if my sponsor asked me to do anything that he wasn't already doing or had done or was willing to do, I would be hesitant to take that advice or suggestion, and I would encourage that you should be too. And then this part is a little bit weird. A sponsor can resign or be fired. I mean, I have been fired a couple times though, so that actually is a thing. But you could also just agree to part ways, find other people to work with. The main thing that we want you to hear here is that it is not a lifetime commitment, right? With most of my guys, we'll take it a year at a time. Okay, let's do this year. Some of my guys are looking at their calendar right now. Wait, what is this? 10 months? Where are we at? It's okay, we're fine. Don't worry. How do I find a sponsor and or accountability partner? Well, here's the thing. The responsibility of finding one is entirely up to you, nobody else. It's interesting. So as the ministry leader and as other people on the leadership team, sometimes people will come to us and be like, I need you to find me a sponsor. That's not a thing. We don't do that, right? We might be able to encourage someone. Well, I think this person you could talk to or something, but ultimately it's your job to work your recovery and for you to find sponsors and accountability partners for yourself, right? Nobody's going to work harder at your recovery than you are. First and foremost, the person must, capital M, must be of the same gender as you. There's no exceptions to that in Celebrate Recovery. 2, can you relate to the person's story, right? I know that that's how I picked my sponsor. I heard them share in Open Share Group. I heard them share their testimony, and that was how I decided to ask them. And do they meet the qualities of a sponsor that we just covered? Those 7 things, right? Those are the important things to look at. By attending fellowship events. And, one of the fellowship events we do is we do dinner every Monday night. Now, I know some of y'all complain about the dinner. I mean, there's always somebody. Even though we have a variety of things, we got vegan people, we got gluten-free people, we got carnivores, we got diabetics. You name it, we got it. And we do our best to cover the spectrum, but no matter what we do, somebody complains. Okay, well, don't eat then, just come and hang out and fellowship, right? It's an opportunity to meet people. And when you invest time in fellowship, other positive things will happen. That's the main reason that we do that. If you ask someone to be your sponsor or accountability partner and they say no, don't take it personally. Now, we always say that, but we still always take it personally. I was talking to somebody here tonight that I reminded them that 10 years ago, I asked them to be my sponsor, and they said no, and they were like, well, I hope it was for a good reason. And I assured him it was, right? It was a good reason. He was the 3rd in 4 no's that I got before I got a yes. It's a thing. So, I'm there with you. What I did was, in my first 2 years in recovery, it would take me like 6 months to work up the courage to ask somebody. And then they said no. And then it took me another 6 months to work up the courage. Now, I'm not telling you only ask somebody every 6 months. Don't leave here and say, hey, Jonathan said, don't do that. Right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's how I did it because I didn't know a better way. And each time, they were like, it's not personal, right? And they had more recovery than me. We just don't think it's the right fit, or I don't have enough time, or I heard different reasons. But it was hard. But eventually, once I got a sponsor that said yes, I realized why God had waited to give me that person, right? Because he was the best fit for me. And sometimes, right, you might be in a space where you just need to ask somebody, hey, I just need somebody for now. Would you work with me as a temporary sponsor? Okay, I want you to turn your sheets over. Oh, and then wait, before you do that, most important, ask God to lead you. Now flip your sheet over. We're going to blow through this in like 2 minutes. So what's the difference between a sponsor and accountability partner? So a sponsor ideally is a person who has more than 1 year of continuous sobriety, preferably more sobriety than you have, has completed the Journey Begins step study of Celebrate Recovery, and has completely worked through the 8 principles and the 12 steps. They meet the 7 requirements we talked about, and the main goal of that relationship is for them to walk you through the 8 principles and the 12 steps, and to help you understand if you're in denial, if you're procrastinating, if you're going way too fast, right? Like I remember I had one guy who like 3 months in, he was like, yeah, I'm done. I got it down. Got the 8 principles, the 12 steps. I'm good. What do I do now? Well, maybe we should start over, right? Because it's only been 90 days and we probably maybe missed a couple things. An accountability partner is someone you ask to hold you accountable for certain areas of your recovery or issues, like meeting attendance, journaling, Bible study, whatever you want it to be that you guys agree on. And that person can be at the same level of recovery or less recovery. They don't have to have completed a step study. It's just somebody that you're in the game with, right? Somebody that you're doing life with. And the main goal of that relationship is just to encourage each other, right? We need to encourage each other. We want you to have a team, right? Accountability partners act like your team, whereas a sponsor acts like your coach. The most important thing I want you to hear tonight is 2 things. 1, Jesus is the key to all of your recovery. And number 2, don't try to do recovery alone. Start building your support team tonight.